the many startup screens for the Atari Jaguar. I think about a handful of them, they're all pretty cool. And triggered at random, I believe. So this is published by Atari, who also distributed it. And here comes the theme tune, which is absolutely fantastic. And it's developed by Imagitech Design. So this is Raiden for the Atari Jaguar. I'm going to start off with 8 credits here because I'm not very good at 2D shooters, and I want to give you a good idea of what this game has to offer, inspired me sucking. So again, the theme tune, for those of you who missed it about 4 seconds ago. Okay, in the first stage, again an awesome song from the soundtrack. The bass line sounds a lot like something from the original Turrican. Just adjusting to the controls here, poorly, I'm mad. So this is regarded as the strongest of the home ports of Raiden, I believe, primarily due to the additional processing power of the Jaguar. And I think the fact that the PlayStation version was on CD kind of ruined that one a little bit. I mean, in terms of the colour and the richness of it, it looks absolutely fantastic. There's a hell of a lot going on the screen. You've got some parallax scrolling, loads of particle effects, loads of enemies on screen. It's just visually for the Atari Jaguar, it's fantastic. Or at least as far as 2D games on the Jaguar go, which was pretty good at. I mean, Rayman looks fantastic as well. That's the actual origin of that game, is the Jaguar. So this version of the game is the PAL version, so it's running at 50 Hz as opposed to the NTSC 60 Hz, meaning it's running 17.5% slower, to be exact. Anyone who's watching this in Europe will be aware of what that was about. It's absolutely dreadful, completely plaguing the 80s and the 90s, making all of our games slower, not a lot of fun. It's still kind of going on now with the Nintendo Wii, but on a much smaller scale. Anyone who's not familiar with that, or it doesn't affect your territory, then it's not really worth caring about. Now, this is one of the, I'd like to use the term, but killer apps for the Jaguar. Aside from this, there was the Tempest, which I know has a really big following, although I don't like it that much myself. Alien vs Predator, which is highly revered. An issue with that game, though, in terms of the PAL version, is it has a slow plodding pace anyway, and when you cut it down by 17.5%, it becomes really slow. And I didn't really enjoy it that much. I imagine that's what sucked a lot of the life out of it. Likewise with the Doom port on the Jaguar, which is of a decent quality but a little bit sluggish. And then again with the PAL version, slower still, and it sucks a lot of life out of the experience. On the flip side of that coin, if you play Wolfenstein 3D for the Atari Jaguar, which has the updated sprites from the Mac version, it runs like greased lightning and is a fantastic version of that game. We have a boss battle which will inevitably kill me. Perhaps not. I love the way this level ends onto just an endless plane of sand, which you could scroll across for some reason. Enjoy that one texture over and over again. Often like tiles. And there's nothing as rewarding as a stage clear screen and a song. So I mean, there's not really a lot to be said about Raiden. Although if you click this video, you know what it is anyway. It's just a fantastic horizontal 2D shooter, vertical 2D shooter even. Just taking a look at the manual pretty much summarises this game, as it's 4 pages long. It's all about short bursts of intense adrenaline-filled gameplay, and that's exactly what it delivers. And on the flip side, if you look at other titles developed for the Jaguar that try to go for a bit more depth, aside from the ones I've already mentioned, games like Iron Soldier, a lot of the 3D games, although primarily the console was designed to create 3D games, due to the fact they were so resource heavy, it really bogged down the frame rate. And of course, as it was early 3D, there was not a lot of texture detail, and so it looked kind of bland. Didn't really help matters either. What I will say in regards to the visuals on the Jaguar is it ships with an RF cable, and as I'm sure you're aware, the quality of those is quite poor, and the graphics just bleed all over the place. It looks absolutely dire. So recently I purchased a composite cable, which is what you're seeing here. It's a lot sharper, it looks a great deal better. It's worth forking out for if you have the console and you're currently stuck with the RF cable. You're going to be looking at about 20 quid for them, which is a rip-off. But at the end of the day, it's a 15-year-old console that wasn't very successful, so it's not going to be easy to get hold of anyway, but it's definitely worth the plunge. The music cutting out there is actually a feature on the Atari Jaguar's controller, which is a symbol of a music note, and basically when you press it, it will turn the music off in any game you're playing, which is really bizarre. But apparently there's something Atari thought was a good idea. I'll do it again in a minute just to demonstrate. Additionally, as you can see on screen here, there is a 2-player mode in this game, which unfortunately I can't show you as I don't have an additional controller. From what I've read, it basically changes the layout of the levels a little bit in terms of the enemies you encounter to compensate for the ease of difficulty of having 2 players on the screen at once. And I think it also changes the boss arrangement, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So this particular part of the level, just take a look at how much is going on the screen, it's absolutely obscene. And yet the Jaguar renders it with absolutely no problems whatsoever, no slowdown. It's just fantastic. Unfortunately for me, it's a bit too much. So that's the end of this video. I'll put up some more Jaguar footage soon, with some incoherent ramblings to go with it. Hope you enjoyed.